Welcome to our podcast,
Sage in the City, a podcast from the youth perspective in the city where we spotlight community stories, traditions, and modern day events, exploring and talking about community issues and struggles.
where you will hear from community members themselves, a podcast under Indigenous Protector Movement, aka IPM.
Which we'll get into a little later, but first, let us tell you a little bit of our history. Aneen, I'm Bear Dion. I'm from Southside Minneapolis. I'm from a place called Little Earth. My dad's from Turtle Mountain, my mom's from Standing Rock, and I am 22 winters.
Segu, my name is Savannah. I'm 22 winters. I was born and raised here in South Minneapolis, and I'm from Oneida Nation.
Welcome to the south side of Minneapolis.
Southside, we outside.
The south side runs deep, but our history on the land runs deeper. From the city to the reservation, our communities stay connected to our traditions, our language, and cultural values.
We continue to put our community first despite the system's attempt to assimilate our people and our ways. And just to let everyone know, we're about to dive deep into our history as Indigenous people and face some hard truths about the traumas of our people on this land. So, yeah, trigger warning.
Attempts from settlers to assimilate indigenous people have been around for hundreds of years, dating all the way back to the first treaty in 1626, the Treaty with Delaware, also known as the Lenape Sale of Manhattan. The Lenape Sale of Manhattan is an early highlight of the struggle of cultural differences after the Lenape tribe attempted to share their land. However, the Dutch forced migration of the Lenape people after believing they had purchased the land.
Following the Treaty of Delaware stands the treaty era from 1773 to 1871. Treaties were created between the U.S. federal government and indigenous tribes, some of which are still not honored by the U.S. government to this day. During this period of the treaty era also lies the trauma of the Indian Removal Act of 1830, which forcibly removed over 60,000 indigenous people from their homelands.
Colonization continued through the reservation era from 1850 to 1877, the opening of the first boarding school in 1860, and the Wounded Knee Massacre in 1890. These tragedies exemplified the efforts of white settlers to either terminate indigenous people or force abandonment upon our land, cultural values, traditions, languages, and ways of life as we know it. This is an attempt to assimilate indigenous people.
By 1924, the American Indian Citizenship Act proclaimed American Indians as United States citizens. Despite being the original people of this land, indigenous people were yet the last group to gain legal citizenship and recognition. In 1928, the U.S. was presented with the Federal Merriam Report. It displayed the harsh conditions the U.S. was implementing upon our people, such as the rapid loss of life, enduring physical labor, malnutrition, low quality education, poor housing, and hard discipline in the boarding schools. Thus, reform was born, or so they claim.
BIA policies in the 1930s eased up on their approach with full-scale forced assimilation. The BIA started to encourage some elements of indigenous culture. This included bilingual as well as bicultural materials and educational reforms. Federal schools started to hire Native teachers and let them teach more freely about some aspects of indigenous teachings, incorporating them into the curriculum. This allowed some form of tribal identity amongst indigenous people during this time.
It was because of this, S.E. Horn was able to teach at a boarding school where future AIM founders Dennis Banks and George Mitchell were taught at. Essie was able to encourage her students to learn more about their history and traditions and build them up to have courage and garner more self-esteem. Years later, Banks credits his teacher Essie as saying, "Might well have been the mother of AIM."
Going into the 1960s, the displacement and migration of indigenous people from reservations into urban environments rapidly increased. Adjustments to city life took a toll on families and came as cultural shock, as natives found themselves in a predominantly non-native environment. Like white urban social norms, native cultures valued communal identity, loyalty, and hospitality over individualism and materialism. There was an extreme discomfort for Indigenous people being surrounded by non-Indigenous ways of life.
Upon arriving in the cities, natives faced more racial discrimination and dangerous situations as it became an everyday occurrence. These include constant racial profiling and stereotypes at places like school by teachers, students, law enforcement, employers, and social workers. As Indigenous people failed by government standards to assimilate, they decided on another approach that they were familiar with. They began to strip parental rights from Native families, forcing their children into foster care and placing them with Christian, white Euro-American families.
In 1969, studies conducted that over 700 homes fostered Native children in Minnesota alone, 90% of which were non-Indigenous households. And studies from 1969 to 1974 displayed that Native children were 20 times more likely than non-Native children to be placed in foster care.
Due to bullying, racism, and poor education toward Native students, there was refusal from Native parents to watch their children suffer emotionally and psychologically in the Minneapolis and St. Paul public school systems, a system which was failing Native kids. The deficiency of cultural support and education led to loss of identity and low self-esteem. There was a high dropout rate amongst Native students. It is believed that the dropout rate during the 1960s to early 1970s was at least 60% or as high as 80%. Families such as the Days and Roys were reluctant to watch their children struggle in public schools as the system constantly ignored their pleas for change. Charlotte Day found herself at the hands of school officials and a child welfare worker after tensions at Mechanic Arts High School in St. Paul, where her children found themselves in constant conflict.
Accusations arose that Charlotte Day was an alcoholic who failed to provide a stable and safe environment for her children. They claimed her as an unpresent and unfit mother to her children, neglecting their basic needs. Despite Charlotte doing everything in her power to provide a healthy home and a good life to her family, she was still yet threatened with her children being taken away from her, all due to them defending themselves at school.
Charlotte was dumbfounded by these accusations, considering how present, active, and loving she was with her children. Charlotte Day was not the only concerned mother fearing for her children being taken away. This was a common occurrence whenever Native families and the child welfare system clashed. Being a suitable parent from a white man's perspective took into no consideration the social context of Indigenous families and their cultural values and differences. Native people were different. They were low-income families facing the traumas of boarding schools and assimilation, expecting to leave their entire identity behind and adapt to socioeconomic standards of white America.
When seeking financial help, most Native families refuse in fear of welfare workers and their capability of taking their children. It became a decision to either assimilate or lose your children. Native families dealing with both the foster care and public school systems knew that something needed to be done.
This sparked the creation of the American Indian Movement in 1968 and the group's desire to become educational activists. AIM challenged the welfare workers and juvenile courts that took the children from their parents at an alarming rate. AIM displayed true care and concern as they also pushed Hennepin and Ramsey County Family Services to provide social workers with training and understanding Native culture and families, and provided legal counsel to threatened families. In some cases, AIM members even convinced the judge to release a child into their own care upon refusal to reunite the child with their family.
A specific case AIM took on was with the Roy's family. The Roys refused to keep their kids in the school system because of the racism their boys faced during such as being called names, getting their hair pulled, and being taught fallacies in American history. Not to mention, they were told the only way the boys could stay at the school was if they cut their hair. Out of concern, the Roy's parents pulled their kids out of school and decided to homeschool them, but were in violation of the state's mandatory attendance law. Due to this violation, the judge ruled that if the children were not sent back to school, the Roy's parents would be sentenced to the Minneapolis workhouse and the children would be taken from them.
The Roy's family fueled anger and distress within AIM members including Clyde Belcourt and Dennis Banks, who confronted the judge about the tiredness they felt from the system stealing Native kids and fostering them out. They exclaimed that they wanted to take care of their own. In response, the judge told them, "If you can come up with an alternative, I'll send them to you. You give them an education."
Thus, true reform was reborn.
For real this time.
An AIM meeting was held later that night in urgency to the situation. The ultimate decision was made for AIM to start their own school. The only way to keep families together was if the children attended school. It was the only option. In January 1972, the first AIM Survival School, Heart of the Earth, opened in the AIM office on Franklin Avenue, located in South Minneapolis.
When Heart of the Earth Survival School became a reality, it had just 8 students. 3 of those were the Roys. Within 1 month, 45 kids attended the survival school. Most of the students were referred by the judges from the juvenile courts.
Charlotte Day saw what was going on in Minneapolis and went down to the St. Paul AIM office with her children and demanded an audience with AIM St. Paul director Eddie Benton-Benet. Here she told them, "I've heard you talk about wanting to start a school. We need to do that now. We need a school where my kids can be respected and they don't have to be defending themselves every time they turn around. I want them in a safe place."
The second survival school, the Red Schoolhouse, opened in April 1972. AIM Survival Schools nurtured urban Indigenous communities and provided newly profound safety, education, and cultural opportunities. They kept families together and eased the hearts of Native parents, assuring that their children did not fall into assimilation.
AIM is also credited with the founding of Native-controlled institutions in the Twin Cities, such as the Legal Rights Center, a health facility, and a housing complex.
AIM took on a new form of activism. A more direct form is they addressed the most concerning conflicts within the urban Indigenous community. They promoted cultural identity and worked to revive generations of cultural loss by coming face to face with urban systems and institutions. The American Indian movement embodied a new spirit within the Twin Cities Indigenous communities, providing community with hopefulness and reconnection to ancestral ways of life. Urban Indigenous folks face challenges moving to cities, especially having their culture stripped from them. They were reluctant to assimilate into mainstream society and faced discrimination daily. Parents having their little ones taken away because the parents didn't understand the system. The youth being tormented at school, a battle zone every day for an urban Indigenous person. These things brought together our once small communities in a fight against the systems.
AIM was founded and things they tackled were education, police brutality, and social work, just to name a few. It was our culture that brought us together, our resilience, our true family-oriented ways. The Lakota have a saying, Mitakuye Oyasin. It means all my relations, we're all related, we're all a family.
In a time where education is being challenged, we still have our teachings around us. Hello everyone, we're here today with Jerry Dearly. Thank you for being here. We're grateful that you made the time to come here. Do you want to introduce yourself? Give yourself an introduction.
Lakota Shuthapi Emotjapalo. That means sharpshooter in the English language. So you said Jerry Dearly, so Dearly is Lakota for Tejilapi or Yotala. So, people couldn't say that, so they call it Dearly.
Okay.
I'm Lakota.
Yeah. You grew up on Pine Ridge, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
not in Pine Ridge, 15 miles north of there.
Oh, okay.
I don't want to be associated with Pine Ridge.
Yeah. Oh, okay. How was life like moving from the res or wherever you grew up to the city?
Well, growing up all my life there, we lived off the land. So, anything wild like rabbits and ceremonies, we always had that, or, we even had a dog different things like that, you know.
Mhm.
And I know Ojibways are called rabbit chokers, and I didn't know what that meant, you know. And it's true,
Yeah.
you know, because what they do is they put a box up there and they put food in there, and then that waboose goes over there and they pull that thing and then they catch the waboose, the rabbit, and then they reach in there and they choke
Mm.
it. Yeah, called rabbit chokers. That's a real thing, you know. And then they used to call us dog eaters because we actually ate dog, you know.
Yeah.
But there's a story of that shunka, you know, that has a lot to do with our ceremonies too. That the dog, the shunka, gave its life for a human, and so that whenever we have ceremonies, that to remember that shunka by taking care of a shunka and ingesting it, because it would heal us. So see, that was kind of a spiritual connection. So,
Mm.
uh, but anyway, that's kind of where my story is as far as there. And then I went to the boarding school, and because my dad didn't want to go to take me to the Catholic school, they call it Holy Rosary, and now it's Red Cloud Indian School. But I went to Pine Ridge, so that's where I went to the boarding school. It's only 15 miles from where we lived, but I played football and I played basketball, so my parents couldn't afford to drive me every day.
Mhm.
And there's no such thing as having your own car because we grew up poor. You know, $5, you know, is a big thing for us. You know. So I'm a dormitory kid. I had a good dormitory experience myself.
That's good.
Everybody says it's terrible. I don't have my language. Oh, well, Lakota, you know, you'll never lose your language, even if you have a dormitory experience. You will never lose your language. Lakota, you know, that's my first language. So I was strong that way. My parents are strong that way too. So,
That's good. At what point did you start to learn English?
uh, when I was kindergarten, they put me in a table by myself. And my aunt used to come in. She was a cook, you know. She used to come in and talk to me. And Lakota, lewa no washitia, Wamspin Choctics. I know you speak Lakota, but now they're going to teach you the white man's language. It's okay. And that was the place where I didn't know how to speak English, so that's where they stuck me. I was taken away, kind of in that room. It's a psychological, maybe took me away so I could learn that on my own. But everybody else spoke English. So you can tell my Lakota is my first language.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. So, yeah, we were researching a lot about AIM this episode, and was AIM very present in your life when you came to the city, or what was the American Indian movement like when you came here?
Well, it started in Pine Ridge, you know.
Okay.
You know, that's kind of where these guys came into town, and I didn't know they were Dennis Banks and some other guys, you know.
Yeah.
They all had pouches. And just kind of checking it out. That's kind of like really strange. They had moccasins on. Just checking them out. Strange people, you know, coming to Billy Mills Hall in Pine Ridge because they had a meeting. Yeah, that wasn't a good place for a meeting. So we went to Calico Hall, which is they had a hall there. And my sister was very much involved in AIM. Her name was Elizabeth Nixon first, or my older sister, and I was teaching at that time. This was in '72, and I found out about all this. So I went to their meetings, and I thought that was pretty cool. You know, I said you needed to do something because a lot of people are not getting the things they want. You know, there's broken trees, there's a lot of stuff like that going on, and maybe it just could turn something or into a negative into a positive. So, so I resigned my position at Porcupine Day School. It's a BIA school. So, so but other than that, when I did that, the involvement came by all the support that we try to give the people in Wounded Knee. And then that's where how I wound up over here, because I saw this female in Wounded Knee, you know, and here she was at a party, you know. Of course, you know, I'm an alcoholic, you know, I've been sober for 30 years, but back in those days I was still kind of in the throes of my addiction, you know. So I met her at a party, and she said she was gonna come back. I'm heading home. I said, "What are you? Potawatomi?" "Yeah, I mean your tribe." I said, "She's going to Michigan." Wow, you know, boy, I could drive for you, you know. And he said, "Well, I'm hitchhiking. You don't have a car." Oh, somebody was behind us, and they gave us the ride to Rapid City and Interstate 90. And the next morning, like 10 below zero, she and I were out there.
Wow.
Our thumbs. And we caught 3 rides before he got to Mitchell, South Dakota, and we wound up here with on a Chamber of Commerce brought us here with a bus ticket, and they just kind of helped us out in Mitchell, South Dakota, you know. I did stop in maybe, I don't know, 10 years later, and I remembered how much, you know, we needed their help. And they said they didn't do that anymore. I said, "Well, here's $400, you know, just you guys go eat or something." Our way of saying thank you. And he said, no, I just walked out because I wanted to pay for them helping us.
Yeah.
It was a kind of a thing, it's a conscious thing for me. So I just walked away, you know, just left it there. I felt good, felt better at it. So that's how I wound up hitchhiking here with her, and we went to Ron Lee's house, and then we went to Butch Sutton's house, and we stayed there on Sunday. Monday morning, she said, "We're going to catch a bus." I said, "A bus? What's a bus?" I didn't know anything about a bus, you know. Well, here in the city, there's buses, right? So we wound up going on a bus to Thomas, and I can't remember what that street is. Red Schoolhouse, and we wound up going there, and then that's where I saw that fire going. And I didn't know what that was, but that's how they started their assemblies. They burned tobacco, and put that tobacco in a fire. Everybody sat down. And things went on. And they there was a drum there, and I knew how to sing that time. I didn't tell anybody, you know. So I just kind of looked at it, and they sang a song that opened everything else what was going to happen that week. So it was really cool, you know, Red Schoolhouse. But actually, I was looking for a job too, because people back there didn't give me a job. Said, "You have a target on your back. We wouldn't want our kids to be, you know, taught by you."
Oh, wow.
Really? So my sisters and them said, "Go somewhere." That's how I wound up over here. So he checked here, and then 1 o'clock I was teaching math and American Indian Studies at Red Schoolhouse. I had one student,
Oh, wow, really?
Gabrielle Strong. Her name was Gabrielle Mato, or Mato, I call it. But and she was Gabby started the Red Schoolhouse's program. It's still going today, called Ain Dayan. So she started that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, she went to McAllister College and got her master's from there. So that was good. I was part of her. When I got my an award from the state of Minnesota, probably about, I don't know, 90 or something, I had her speak for me, and she said, "You know, I was the only student of Jerry's, and he thought you can." Didn't even go easy on me. He taught all the whole hour, just me. I said, "Well, I didn't know what." But that's kind of how she introduced me, you know. So, okay, you know. But that's what I was taught to do. Is taught very good, you know. I thought at the University of North Dakota, in the College of Education, and learned how to student teach and Cannonball, North Dakota, and Standing Rock, and all that, you know. So, but other than that, that's kind of what I did. Oh, and then survival camps. Holy cow, that was kind of neat. Take all those kids at Red Schoolhouse, survival camps, and 78, the longest walk started.
Yeah.
Okay. 3,000-mile walk from Alcatraz Island, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So they were coming this way, so Ellie said, take some kids and have a run for survival. I said, okay. So we left from Fort Snelling and we took some vans, Red Schoolhouse vans, and we went through Nebraska. And they said that we could stay at Boys Town because somebody knew somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we wound up in Boys Town. Here we wound up, the SWAT teams are coming at us because nobody told them, you know, that they thought we were going to take over Boys Town. Well, it didn't happen that way, you know. So one little boy, we told him to go call the media. So he took off, he snuck out, and he called the media. Next thing you know, all the SWAT teams are backing off.
Mm-hmm.
So we wound up, when they saw that on TV, you know, we had, I think his name was Mike Self, or Ron Self, he's a singer, but he went to school with us, and right now he's an insurance salesman, right now, you know, as we speak. But Tom Self is his name. And he fell off one of those vans and hurt his foot. So when that happened, we told them about it. Holy cats, we had some kids there too, so they had Pampers, and they had sandwiches, and they had clothes, and they had pop, and everything else you could think of from all these companies that came down.
Yeah.
Because of, you know, our, I guess it was a misunderstanding. That's what they said about what we did. So we took all that and we started going to Prairie Lake, Kansas. That's where the walk was camped. And during that time, I said I went to high school. So some of us went to high school. You know, we went to Lawrence, Kansas.
Yeah.
See that original treaty school. You know?
Mm-hmm.
See, that was kind of interesting too, because I was there in 1967, graduated high school, and I became the student body chair president over there. 750 students, and you could check that out in a library. Of course, now it's microfiche or I don't know, computer.
Yeah.
It's old school, you know. So, but what happened there was it was really interesting that you could go to school with Oneidas, with you boys, Navajos, Delan, you know, as they call it. And my first love of my life was Navajo. She brought me to Mexico.
Wow.
We had 3 kids.
Oh, really?
So like that, you know, as we kind of went along. And so that's kind of where my, the original treaty school, which I know they called all the seniors in because that's a 2-year school.
Mm-hmm.
So we kind of showed up and here said, well, in 1968, all of you that are in here, business students, which I was, you know, you are now, when you finish here, you're going to have a 2-year degree when you leave here, because it's now an accredited institution, Haskell is. So we're calling it the Haskell Indian Junior College. So that's where it began. Now it's Haskell Indian Nations University.
Yeah.
So,
There's a lot of people who go there still.
yeah.
It's
yeah.
a 4-year now, so that's
Yeah.
interesting. I never knew that it used to be 2-year.
They have graduate school, free graduate school, if you go up to the hill, University of KU,
Oh,
up the hill.
really?
Yeah.
Oh.
They have if somebody wants to go to grad school, you can go up there.
Yeah.
free education.
Yeah.
But other than that, that's kind of where longest walk came along, and I was a three-fire singer, and I was trying to figure out why did they call us three-fire singers, and here the first fire would be Ojibwe,
Yeah.
keepers of the water drum, right? The little boy, and then the Odawa, keepers of the culture, and then in Kansas and on into Michigan, the Potawatomi, keepers of the fire. Three fires. So that's what we were, three fire singers to Red Schoolhouse. And we sang just when we went into the walk went into the Washington D.C.
Mhm.
That's when that peanut farmer, remember that guy? He signed that Freedom of Religion Act, the 1978 Freedom of Religion Act.
Yep.
So that's kind of when we could have eagle's feathers and teach about that, sage,
Mhm.
sweetgrass, and the medicines of our people.
Mhm.
So it's kind of a lot of things like that. I thought it was really positive, but some people sometimes they didn't have a very positive experience. But I did it, you know.
Yeah.
That's why I'm still here.
Yeah.
You know, I
Yeah.
still live here. You know,
Yep.
I enjoy doing what I do. You know,
Mhm.
around Twin Cities. You know, and I'm sober. I can do
Mhm.
it sober. Can remember what I did.
Mhm.
And well, maybe not all the time, but it was kind of interesting. Yeah. So
Was there anything that like inspired you to become an educator, or did you just always? want
no,
to?
my dad, my mom, they said keep going to school. That's all. You know,
Mhm.
I wasn't going to be a teacher. I was going to be wanted to be a bookkeeper. Wanted to work with figures and all that. That's why I went to high school and took business.
Yeah.
When I had that 2-year degree, got accepted to come to University of North Dakota, and then that's where I went. Became college of the teaching college up there.
Mhm.
So that's how I came out of there with all my teaching area. Nowadays, I kind of look at people that graduate from college. They don't have any teaching experience, you know, because we have to go through student teaching. We had to go through like 3 months every kindergarten. You had to be there first grade, you know, like that. So that's kind of how it went. So I think all that was kind of I needed to do that so that I could have some kind of a wage coming into my life as a job.
Mhm.
And mine was teaching.
Mhm.
So I'm so glad I did that. You know, I'm so glad. So these are things that just kind of I never thought I was gonna do that. You know, but it happened. You know.
Yeah.
So, but other than that, that's kind of where survival camps. Oh, I just loved it. It was the Red Schoolhouse. We went to fish camp and we went to Porky White's. Let's see what they call that now. SERP. You know, his camp over here. You know,
Mhm.
and you know Porky White. You know, when I was over there, he was 65 years old, and he had a son, and his wife was a 26-year-old teacher there at Red School.
Oh.
And I knew Porky too, and he's a kind of a medicine man, so to
Yeah.
speak. You know, so it was kind of interesting. You know how you see a lot of interesting things going on. You know?
Yeah.
But we had survival camps. We had fish camps, like a maple sugar camp, and we had wild rice camp. Let's see, and we just went out there in survival camps with the
Mhm.
kids. Yeah.
So like the whole reason survival school started was so that the youth could stay connected to our culture and our traditions.
Yeah.
Why do you feel like it's important that we do stay connected?
Well, for me, I'm Lakota,
Mhm.
so I'm staying connected anyway.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was my thing, you know, and still is today. But people that are raised in a city, they don't have their language, they don't have too much of their culture, but you sure know you like pizza, but you don't know what the other foods are.
Mhm.
That's kind of what we have to deal with in the 21st century today. So today, you know, I just kind of like telling these stories that I'm telling you right now because I think you need to know. Uh, First of all, um, we don't have Red Schoolhouse. We don't have Nawa'i Center School. I taught there for a semester,
No, did you?
and one of the teachers there, Lloyd Woodstock, were you there? His wife started in McGeezy Communications, Laura Waterman Woodstock. She was a Seneca from New York, and I taught with him
Mm-hmm.
there. I taught American Indian Studies there at Nawa'i Center School. So that's kind of how, when you were saying that, I said, yeah, kind of like 50 kids, 50 students were there. Not that many, But I do know that we don't have, well, we have Nawa'i. I don't know what they're doing there, because I kind of out of education, but I do a lot of like opening week for like the Shakopee Public Schools or the Eden Prairie Public Schools. I do lectures over there, and but I used to tell them, I said, I'm not going to be the person that's going to give you all the answers. You administrators are the ones that have to get this together for your teachers. I said, I'm not going to be the big savior here,
Mm-hmm.
Not going to do that. So, because I can't, you have to do that. I'm going to be gone, and I just came to do this, but I'm going to give you some advice before I leave, But other than that, I looked at the St. Paul Public Schools Internet Education Program. It's it's a state-run program with federal dollars, and how Red Schoolhouse and Hard Earth was, able to sustain.
Yeah.
And then, like I do stuff with like summer school. I taught 2 days at the Minneapolis Public Schools Internet Education Program. So I do that kind of stuff, and the director of the Minneapolis Public Schools is from Eagle Butte, South Dakota. She looks like a non-Indian, but she's so proud. She's Lakota. Jennifer Simon. She's the director of that. She used to be at Augsburg University, for 20 years. So I help her out. I come up. She needs some help at a school. She'll call me, and I'll go over there, and I'll do what I can, what I know about that. I don't know everything, but
Yeah.
but some of the things that I can elaborate from, and but I think that what I really would like is you females. You don't know how to be females anymore.
In what way?
There's a lot of cultural things that you guys go through, but a lot of people don't even want to say that. Like for instance, when you're in your time of the month, you can't go to a powwow because you're going to be close to that drum. You can't go to the ceremony. You can't go to a sweat lodge. You can't go any place like that because you are cleaning yourself. That's just what the Creator gave you as females. And if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be here, or none of us would be. So the sacred pipe that we have was brought to the Lakota people to distribute throughout 640 nations of people across Indian country, by a white buffalo calf woman, Ptesanwi, probably back in maybe 750 BC or something. That pipe is still in 20 miles north of Eagle Butte, South Dakota, in a place called Greengrass. That pipe is still there. And then along with this Ptesanwi, the white buffalo calf woman, brought that pipe, she also called some allies of the Lakota, which is the Shahila, which is Northern Cheyenne, or Machpia Tcho. Machpia is blue, cloud, and Tcho is blue. So the blue sky people of the Arapaho, they brought them to Bear Butte up in the Black Hills. Then when they gave one of the other tribes some wahinkpe or arrows, they gave the other tribe a hat. They gave the Lakota that pipe. So see, a woman very instrumental when you go to a sweat lodge. When you go inside to pray, you're actually in the womb of Mother Earth. So you think about that female aspect of it, you know. And that pipe, of course, was brought here by that spiritual creature, that the Ptesawi or the white buffalo cattle. So that's our spiritual part. A lot of things happen. I personally love it when women are in charge. I will support them. I really do. Because a lot of people, you're ego conscious, you want to be egotistical just like America is. But Native people, if you have, like say, if you're a doctorate or you have a Juris Doctorate in law, you're not going to come back and start to try to control. No, you know where your place is. We know that. You're not going to put that in front of our face and think that this is I have, so I deserve to be there. You're not going to say that because you have respect for yourself and you were taught well. So I'm saying we need to have some kind of a women's group that can teach you women how to be women, the men how to be men. See what I mean?
Yeah. I think that's a lot of, I guess, the result of being an urban native.
Yeah.
Because
Cosmopolitan.
yeah, you don't always have those teachings around us. So, yeah, I agree with you. I think
You know,
that's
it's hectic,
important.
but you know, I think that would be a way to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's important.
What are the suggestions? You know?
Yeah. Do you have any questions?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
I do, but can we take like a 2-minute break real fast?
Sure.
How long were you teaching at the survival schools?
Probably about 5 years.
5 years.
Okay.
Couldn't get any money made. Couldn't make any money.
That's
I
what's-
just joined the mainstream America.
Yeah.
Make some changes there.
So I was about to ask you. This is kind of like not really on topic. It's just asking questions.
Mm-hmm.
So you did arrive in St. Paul first when you came here,
Yeah,
and then you just liked it over there, so you just decided to.
I live over there now.
Yeah, I'm just
Yeah.
saying. So you just decided to live over there.
Yeah, I always say I come to Minneapolis, I'll put on my armor. Of course, I don't say that anymore.
Yeah.
Flying bullets all over the place. I mean, stereotype.
I was about to ask you too. Like, you know, I grew up seeing you, and you're at like literally like every powwow. I recognize your voice. So like, how long have you been like emceeing?
Since 1979.
That's a long time.
Yeah, that's a long time.
That's.
And I'm 76 now. And I just finished one this weekend. I'll be going to Nebraska.
Oh wow.
Doing the same thing. And that's a different tribe. You know?
Yeah.
Did you enjoy working at the survival schools?
Yeah, I did. You know,
Yeah.
even though it's a survival school, you know, a lot of people had a lot to share.
Yeah.
I kind of listened to them, you know. And I know Eddie himself was very instrumental in his language, and he made some books, and he wrote some books. But he also was a what did he call himself? I don't know. Mayday. He's a kind of leader of the Mayday people.
Mm.
So everybody goes to, like, we wound up going to Michigan, and I wound up in one of those, ceremonies. Everything was in Ojibwe. Really cool, pretty cool, But I wasn't an Ojibwe, but he knew I spoke my language,
Mm-hmm.
so he just had me sit there and listen. And they had drawings in the sand, teachings in the sand. That was those sort of some of the things that I saw, experienced. That's what they do.
Mm-hmm. Before the survival schools, a lot of natives didn't have a very good experience in the school system. Do you feel like you had overall a good experience growing up, like just in education?
I didn't even know anything about the eagle feather. Didn't know anything about. I knew how to use sage feather, no other than that.
Mm-hmm.
And it was almost European mainstream education,
Yeah.
through high school, football, basketball, because we didn't have soccer over there. Forget, I didn't even know what that was. Didn't even know what lacrosse was. You guys have that,
Oh,
Never knew that. We had similar games,
Mhm.
but we never called it lacrosse or never had it like that. But it was all. I never even got one inkling of any history.
Yeah.
Never any native history. Nothing. Instead, I took Spanish 1 and Spanish 2.
Oh yeah.
So I excelled in that language, but I was kind of a nerd. So I think I could learn anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
I thought, I challenged myself. But I think I never got nothing on history and culture except how I was brought up with ceremonies. I didn't know that. That was my way of life. So we had ceremonies, went to Sundance, I danced. I was a traditional dancer.
Yeah.
So I did all that. But I never got one book on anything.
Yeah.
Because teachers didn't know, they didn't think that was pertinent.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's pertinent. With your
Yeah.
question, I can see that you have a thought process to go through.
Mm-hmm.
That's important or not important.
Yeah. Well, I kind of grew up the same way. Like, I grew up in a Catholic school. I didn't really know much history on our people, and I feel like just now recently I've been learning a lot more. So it's just really good to feel connected again. And at what point did you feel like you were learning more about your history?
Well, it wasn't really my history, but when I finished high school, I went to Haskell.
Mm-hmm.
So see, I saw the Apache devil dancers, and I saw, what is that? This guy had a mask on and had a big bell. That was the clown of the devil dancers. The Southwest had that. So there was now a beginning of culture that I was seeing. Of course, I was a dancer, so we saw different fancy dancers, and we saw different kind of parts of what they do, the tribes do. There's 640 or more nations of people, and they do something.
Mm-hmm.
So I saw, like, so many different people, Alaskan people, and people that were there, Athabasca Lingits, Eskimos, not every, person from Alaska is Eskimo. So that's kind of where I began to, kind of an inkling of other tribes
Mm-hmm.
and their language. They all spoke their language too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
So when you were with AIM, or whatever, which leaders did you spend the most time with?
None of them.
None of them.
No. I didn't spend a lot of time with them, but being I spoke my language, I talked to Crow Dog a lot.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah.
Crow Dog's no longer here with us. You know, passed away last year, I think, or a year before. And I knew Crow Dog's dad. So see, the language was important for me. I couldn't talk to Clyde Belcourt or Dennis Banks, or I couldn't talk to them. However, my cousins were the means. My mom's, they're related to my mom on my mom's side.
Yeah.
The running hawk, the means. So, like all those means, like kills, they call them that now. You know, means. He lives in Rosebud now, so that's Bill means. But Russell means when I was teaching in Kyle, South Dakota, he was living there because his wife was a teacher, Peggy. Peggy means. Do you know who she was? Yeah. So they had a daughter too that went to Stanford, things like that. You know, so I just kind of got to know them like that. But you know, I just never paid attention to too many people unless they spoke their language. So I guess maybe that wasn't a good thing for my part, you know. But I spoke with a lot of the Lakota people because I was a singer, and we just kind of watched how things were.
Yeah, you said who was the director of the Red Schoolhouse when you were there?
Oh, Elie Benton Benet.
Can you tell us a little bit more about him and your time meeting him?
Yeah, he's kind of a short guy. Yeah, a little chubby guy. But anyway, I never said that. I might get fired. But he had 5 kids.
Yeah.
And these 5 kids were all from Yankton Sioux. And his kids were half Dakota or half N-speaking Ihanktua people of the Yankton Sioux, and then the Ojibwe from LCO. That's where he's from, you know, Lakota Ray, which means short years. You guys know that? LCO? Yeah.
I didn't.
It means short years. It's a French, kind of a French connotation, explanation, I guess. So I got to know Eddie pretty good, you know. I just stayed away from him because he hired me to do my job, and they're gonna pay me to do that, I do my job without asking questions. If you know what I mean. You know?
Yeah.
So.
So how long have you been like an educator?
Since 1972, well, maybe before that, but that's when I actually qualified, you know,
Yeah.
in mainstream America as a Bachelor of Science degree with a minor in psychology, and let's see, I had a minor in Phi-Ed, which in South Dakota you can be a coach, so that was kind of fortunate. Then grad school at the University of South Dakota, still in education, you know, in '75,
Yeah.
things like that, and I loved education. You know, I just loved doing that. You know, I didn't like the tests to get the education, but
Yeah.
you know, I've been since about 1972.
What's the biggest impact you think you had on, like, you know, teaching, educating others?
The biggest impact I ever had was on myself, because along the way, you know, I have a addiction called alcoholism.
Mhm.
I'm 30 years sober now, but I think that what happened to me was I wanted to sober up for me because I wanted to be a better teacher.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really to help myself and to help others. Let's try this, you know, that kind of thing. That was the biggest impact, I think, the decision I made to get straight. And then everything else is just, you know, gravy on my toast. Yeah. But it's a beautiful, beautiful experience.
How much more time?
You guys can wrap up whenever you want to, or ask him like 1 or 2 more questions. And
Okay.
I actually had a question. You can re-ask it, so it's you asking. But like, what was a typical day like at Red Schoolhouse or the survival schools, and how that was different from, like other schools at that time, and like, kind of just speaking on the how this was like a new thing that had never been done, this way of teaching our kids.
You know, we'd have seems like every day we'd have a birthday party.
Yeah.
Okay? If you had a birthday party, then some student had a birthday. So right at like maybe 3 o'clock, we'd all go downstairs in the kitchen area. We'd set up our drum, and then all the students would come in, and we'd sing a birthday song. Then we'd have round dance. Everybody's round dancing, and that was a typical day. And we didn't start off with a ceremony every day, but Mondays was that assembly to get everything together.
Mhm.
That's kind of where they had our tobacco and our fire, things like that.
Mhm.
So, but other than that, during the day it was a typical going up and down the stairs in between classes, and saying hello. And I did see Angela Davis, with her big old hair, like that. She's walking up the stairs. The Hasapa lady, Mitakuye Oyasin, so I was looking at her. I said, "Is Eddie's Yaha's office is right here?" So Eddie really knew a lot of people.
Mhm.
Marlon Brando was there too. Kind of interesting, huh?
What?
Yeah.
That's
He,
crazy.
Yeah, he was there. Yeah, we met him, and also when we were over at New York area, Cassius Clay, Muhammad Ali. He was about 6'3". He kind of looked short, but he's kind of a tall guy, And he even had a Western shirt and belt and boots and like that too.
Mhm.
Thought that was kind of cool.
Mhm.
But we met a lot of people like that, that are people that are in the movies and people, like that. See, Eddie knew them. And
Yeah.
I know, I'm sure Clyde knew them, I'm sure. Oh, Eddie and Clyde didn't kind of get along very well.
Oh, yeah.
So kind of a thing, So when I taught at Heart of the Earth, same thing. Johnny Smith, I met some more singers, and we had assembly every morning there, with the drum. We started off with a prayer, flag song, a veteran song, or something like that, and then we got our day going. Everybody kind of broke. So Red Schoolhouse was just right into it, and on Mondays they had ceremony. Heart of the Earth, they had ceremony every day. It was kind of interesting, and they had language there, and language, of course, language was always being taught, and I was a language teacher too at Heart of the Earth, plus a culture. So I had to kind of do my own learning, learn how to talk about culture, from other people that knew. So I kind of picked some brains there, just kind of liked what they had to say, So a lot of Ojibwe people I met, a lot of people that I knew, They all came in and they do a presentation, and I kind of learned from that, So it took me a long time, long time to learn from people, not from books, but from people, and that's important. Like what we're doing here, that's important, really. So I hope that answers that question.
Yeah. Do you feel like the kids who attended these survival schools, do you think they had a good time while they were there? That they were intrigued with ceremony?
They came from the city, right? They're probably pizza eaters, like they're really stuck in one way, But when they came to the school, something changed,
Mhm.
Kind of like they all ate together, ate whatever was put there. But when it went home, it was different, you know. So home and school was, I think school was more invaluable than at home because we can't say anything about the home. There might be alcoholism, there might be drug addiction going on, closed doors. We don't know.
Yeah.
And these kids are outside until these guys pass out or do whatever they do, and then they go back. So we kind of knew that that's what was going on, but we could not accuse anybody of that. You know? So that's why I think they really enjoyed coming to school. Seriously, you know. I mean, that's what I thought. Here in the city, you know. And I know when I was teaching in Pine Ridge, I was at Little One School. One of my, I was teaching junior high. One of my students kind of didn't show up, you know, like every month she would be gone for a few days. So finally, I got a school car and I went out to her house, and here's a log house, and when I knocked on her door, they had me come in, and there's a lady there. She put on her apron. She said, "You taka, what in texto?" Said, "Sit down, you're gonna eat." And she cooked for me, you know, a couple eggs and, you know, something else and coffee. And when we were finished, she took her apron off and she put it right there. "I know why you're here." She took me over that hill way up on top. There's a sweat lodge there. And she was my student was culturally being taught. When it was time for a month, she went and fasted. It was really cool. I was embarrassed, you know, actually, but I really learned from that. You know, that she did that for her daughter.
Yeah.
I thought that was really cool. I have never experienced that since.
Yeah.
But that was one experience that really, I always talk about that sometimes.
Yeah.
You know, share things that I know, like I'm sharing today with people. Because what am I going to do with the information, you know?
Yeah.
So, just wanted to share that. You know?
Yeah. I bet you weren't expecting that, huh?
No,
Yeah.
I did not.
Wow.
So,
Do you have any more questions?
Not right now, no. No.
Okay. Do you guys have any questions?
Yeah. What's your favorite color?
What's your favorite color?
what is my favorite color?
Yeah.
You know what? The other day I was looking at, well, it's kind of like what you wear too, you know. I think blue.
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 I have a lot of blue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like blue.
Of course, blue jeans too.
Yeah.
Not blue socks, but blue jeans.
Okay. Well, I think
Ask him if he
Why
has
did
any.
you ask?
has what?
Why did you ask?
Like.
Color of your eyes or something?
No, just like, I think it's a good way to know a person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Well, I think that's all the questions that we have for you.
Very good.
Ask him if he has any.
Do you have anything that you want to talk about that we haven't talked about, or any questions for us?
No, just keep doing what you're doing. Keep your interviewing going. How else you gonna know anything?
Yeah.
And you're gonna start an archive of different, people call them teachings, but different people share it.
Yeah.
I like that more than teachings. Sharing I think is more of a thing that I like, and about life anyway.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing your thoughts and knowledge with us. And yeah, we're glad to have you here.
Yeah.
Yeah, appreciate you.
Make them for this.
Okay.
Wow,
The
that's
camera is recording.
Got serious.
Alright, you guys.
Oh, do I have to pull this closer?
I think
Here, let me hear how you sound real quick.